Thanks for joining All Things Amy today. Stick around if you want to learn how to make wheat sourdough bread, and I'm going to cook it in the Dutch oven this time. It is so easy to do, and this recipe again is a no-fail recipe if you follow what we're doing here. Okay, we're going to start with, we're going to do a mixture of wheat and white flour. So I've got 4 total, and you can do it any way you want. I'm going to do half and half, 2 white, which is already in here, and then I just did my wheat and ground it up to a really fine flour consistency, and I'm going to do 2 cups of the wheat flour. And to that, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of salt in the dry mixture. 1, 2. Okay. For the sourdough, this has been sitting out overnight. It's risen and then fallen back down, and so it's going to have a really good sour taste to it. This sourdough starter, I'm going to start out with about 3/4 cup to a cup in a different container. And then 2 cups water, just scant. So just under 2 cups of water in this mixture. So just with the dry ingredients here, just kind of mix those together. It doesn't have to be perfect, because when we add the wet ingredients, we're really going to mix this, but I like to get it mixed in roughly. Okay, that's great. Now we're going to come over to this. This was the water and our sourdough. Just kind of break that up. It'll kind of make the water look like milk, and there'll still be some little chunks. It doesn't break down all the way. All right. Then simply pour this in. And then we don't need this, and we don't have to need this, and we don't want to need it. We just want to incorporate the water into the flour, both the wheat flour and the white flour. You see this kind of come together. Sometimes I use the spoon the entire time to get it incorporated, and sometimes I put my hands in it and mix it in, but it's looking really good. And once you get, so there's no white dry patches, all you're going to do here simply is cover it with a wet towel, and you're gonna wait 30 minutes, and we'll show you what's next. All right, it's been 30 minutes. It's allowed this to develop the gluten just a bit. It's a wet dough, and we don't want to work with it a lot. So this is why we do the stretch and fold. It helps firm up the dough, develop the gluten some more, and it helps us eventually to work with a firmer dough, much easier than how wet this is. All right, so how you do this is you're going to reach under and just stretch it and fold. Stretch, fold. Don't stretch to the point where it tears. Just stretch until it doesn't have too much give left, and fold. And you'll already see how it's firming up this dough. I'm going to do one more. There you go. Then just turn the dough around. And we're going to do this at least one more time, but you can do it up to 4 times. Just wait 30 more minutes again. Cover this and do this in 30 minutes again. All right, here's the second stretch and fold. And this dough is going to be firm enough to start the raising process. If it is still really wet and not very firm, then you want to go ahead and do this a couple more times. And then you'll cover it with a wet rag, let it double in size. And sometimes it can take quite a few hours. Sometimes I even do it overnight or all day long. All right, guys, this did have to raise overnight. Come take a look. It's about twice the size. And I've noticed the sourdough with wheat in it does take a little bit longer to raise. So now what we're going to do is just gently pull this off the sides and just let this stretch, and then fold it. Pull it the other direction. This is going to give it a firmer shape, just like the stretch and fold did yesterday, just a slightly different technique. I'm going to do it a couple more times because it's a really, really wet batch, which is great for the wheat because it can tend to be a drier bread, so I like it when it's. And then that's getting tighter. See how it won't even stretch now? I'm going to just fold it one last time. Okay, and then all I'm going to do here is shape this into a ball. So just kind of pull the edges down. Almost like you're making a big roll. Okay, and then I have already sprayed this parchment paper, and pick a bowl that is about the shape you'd want it to fill in. So we're gonna let that raise now, and it could take overnight, it could take 8-10 hours. And then cover it, make sure your towel is wet. And when that is doubled in size, we'll score the top, and then we're gonna cook it in the Dutch oven. We'll see you when we get to that stage. Okay, this has been rising all day long. It looks wonderful. See the size? Do you remember the size before? We're gonna just score it. It did break open a little bit, so that will open up a little more. So I'm gonna do the score right down that same spot. And another line here. These scores are deeper. Then decoratively, I'll just put a couple light scores in. Okay, now this is hot. It's been in the oven at 475 getting hot. I just pulled it out. So very carefully, pull this beautiful raised loaf and put it in here. Okay, then you're going to put the hot lid back on. Remember to always use this, because one time I grabbed it without it. And then we're gonna set this into the oven, and we're gonna cook it for 25 minutes on 475. And then we'll pull the lid off and cook it for 15 more minutes. And then we'll show you what it looks like. Just took the lid off, and now 15 more minutes. Now pulled it out of the oven. And now on a cooling rack for at least 30 minutes. All right, let's cut into this. Oh wow, that looks amazing. Should I have a taste? Oh my goodness. It's got that nice crust, really yummy and chewy on the inside, and a strong sourdough flavor. Remember, all things done with love. I'll leave a link in the description below of the cast iron pan that I used.